Okay, that should be good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sex Dungeons and Dragons podcast. I am CJ, and I am joined here with my co-host,
Chase.
And right now, our third co-host is currently going to Taco Bell to later shit himself. How are you doing today, Chase?
I'm doing fine.
What do you want to talk about? Our whole entire podcast is about Dungeons and Dragons and the sex that comes from it. Well, tell me today. How's your campaign going?
Mine is going good, especially since my character has decided to start selling his body as drugs.
As drugs. Tell the viewers what your character is.
My character is a sprite, and he is essentially pure magic. So in our world, his different body parts or elements to his body do different things. So, like, his wings are essentially cocaine.
Oh, okay. Is that all, like, he can sell his body for?
Well, his blood and tears also do stuff. His tears are a depressant.
Oh, shit, so it's like weed.
Oh, yeah. And his blood is a stimulant.
Okay, well then, like... Well, why are you gonna sell your wings?
Oh, he is selling his wings on his blood.
Well, why? You could use your wings to get around and fly. Flying must be dope.
His logic is he is very greedy, and he would much rather have the gold.
He would much rather have gold than the ability to fly.
Yes.
Alright, I can understand that. My character... Oh, yeah, by the way, what's your character's name?
My character's name is Poppy Mint, all one word.
Poppy Mints.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm now... Alright. My character is an Azamar, so if the viewers don't know, that is a fallen angel, essentially. And, my character's name is Inkblood. And Ink, he suffers from PTSD. And so... The most recent activity that Ink has been through is that he has murdered a man because Ink stole his horse. And so he's trying to cover up his trail. And then... So he killed him in the back of a bar that the bartender likes us. So Ink killed him in the back of a bar. And then... He's currently hiding him in his room, waiting for the fall of night so that he can go out and just leave him in the desert where he is right now and let the vultures have at him. But it's going to be hard because of the smell in this hot fucking desert, and it's just going to putrefy. What's the word called? It's just going to fester, and it'll have the smell just radiate throughout the entire inn. So first thing, when I get back into the campaign, I'm going to need perfume and shit. So what's your character doing? Other than selling his body.
Well, selling his body is quite an important part. He's essentially being a prostitute right now for some alchemists.
Fair enough.
They find him very sexy because they know what he is made of. But currently he is on a quest to get this floating island castle. It was for the giants in our old age.
Okay.
Even though he's a sprite, so he's like incredibly small, he really, really wants that castle.
He wants the entire castle
The entire castle, biggest castle in our world, for giants, and he wants that for himself.
Oh, that's amazing! That tiny fucking body having that. For all the viewers out there, we're all in the same world, but we're in two separate campaigns because the campaign of his group is just really fucking big, and so our DM doesn't want to add any more people to that, and so we started a second group. That's my group, and we're currently in the desert. He's currently in the swamp area?
No, we're no longer in the swamp area. We are now in grass plains.
Grass plains, okay. They're in the grass plains, and where's the castle at? It's like in the forest, or where?
The floating castle that my character is after for his life goal is literally in the sky, and it kind of circles the continent.
That's fucking great. Now, in the lore that the DM gave us, he said that the giants used to be like the huge supremacist, and like they used to rule over the world and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And then they held the forest areas, like the heavily forested continent, essentially, and then the elves took over, and they essentially just fucking ripped them a new one, and the Ink wants the forests. Ink wants that continent. He wants to take over the elves, even though it's still occupied by the elves, and they're still fucking badass. Ink wants to raise an animal army and any allies he can to take that forest, and he wants to do this because since Ink was sent down from the heavens and casted away, he wants to do that to show the heavens essentially and say, fuck you, I can take over whichever world I get brought into. So he wants to take over the elves. And yeah, so I really hope that our two groups meet up one day, and then hopefully not battle, but hopefully be fucking great with each other.
Well, there is a possible crossover episode. Our groups just have to, without metagaming, seem to find each other.
Yeah. I feel like that if we do that though, it'll be one clusterfuck with the DM with all of our people in one room role playing. Dear God. What class is your Poppy Mint?
Poppy Mint is a wizard.
As a wizard, alright.
I'm kind of regretting that, because now that I know how sorcery points work, should have picked the sorcerer.
Yeah. But like, what level are you now?
He is currently a level 5. Well, technically, level 4 wizard, level 2 sprite.
Okay, so you didn't multi-class. Wait, what? Sprites are their own class?
He's not a class. We're kind of like homebrewing a class 4.
Okay.
Poppy Mint. That way, because we're kind of following some of the old lores that are behind fairies.
Okay, I like that. So, like, Poppy Mint is from the Feywild, right?
Yes.
How did he get to the material plane?
Poppy Mint, being as greedy as he is, just sort of wandered, and he doesn't know time well.
What?
So, for him, being on the plane, he probably only meant a day, but he's already 503 years old.
Oh, that's amazing. So, does Poppy Mint ever want to go back to the Feywild?
He loves the Feywild, but he also loves toying with mortals.
Okay, so he's like at a crossroad.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I understand that Poppy Mint has a son. Tell me the backstory on that.
Well, once more in the lore of fairies, they used to steal children and raise them as their own.
As one would.
Yes, very much so. And then he came across a half-elf, half-human, and thought, you know what, this is my child now. And so now he has a son named Ron Jon, which as far as he knows, he has only just got. Like, still brand new toy to him.
Okay.
But Ron Jon is fully grown now and one of the other members of our party.
Okay. Well, does Poppy Mint still find Ron Jon as a toy or as a genuine son figure?
He finds him as a son. Like,
Okay.
He doesn't really understand emotions well, but as close to love as Poppy Mint will ever probably get, it's probably what he feels for his son.
All right. That's pretty cool. Now, I understand that Poppy Mint has a mobile house, right? And he has a mobile house for whatever fucking reason that's on wheels, and it can, whatchamacallit. You want an entire alchemy set in there. Why?
Well, like I said, Poppy Mint is essentially pure magic or drugs.
Fair.
So, his thought process is, not only can I make stuff for myself and use on myself to make me better than everyone here, but I could also make my own drugs and start toying with people more.
Okay, now you said he was going through a metamorphosis. Does that mean he's going to regrow his wings?
Eventually, but he doesn't know he's going through that.
Got it. Now, how long does sprites usually live?
Compared to mortals,
Humans.
compared to humans, a human's life is a blink of the eye.
Got it. Because I do know that the Feywild is really, really, like, very old. Very old.
Incredibly old.
Okay.
There have been Fey queens that have had sex with mortals, and the mortals have died before they could finish.
Holy fuck, that's pretty cool. Now, does Poppyman ever want to fuck something?
Well, because he's one of the lower Fey,
Yes.
he doesn't he or she or they, because he's essentially flowing with the wind in terms of how he feels on a given day.
The fuck? Okay.
So, Poppyman definitely doesn't have sex the same way a mortal would.
How would you describe them having sex then?
The Fae have sex more with their, like, the lower Fae, I should say, have sex more with their mind.
So is it like Avatar, where they entangle their ponytails, and then they fuck through the ponytail tendrils?
No.
Okay, just going like that, just no?
I'm just gonna leave it there.
Okay. Alright, then what do you want to talk about?
Well, your party has some interesting, characters.
Okay, yeah.
Tell me about Jasper.
Jasper. Okay, well, Jasper is our Dragonborn, and she was essentially born. She's a daughter of a king of something in the desert, but she doesn't really partake in that because her father left when she was really young, and then now she's just a wandering traveler and searching for adventure, just looking for rocks. Jasper really loves hacking rocks, thus the name Jasper. Jasper's a rock for all you viewers that don't know. And she happened to stumble upon our party in a bar, and now she's helping us with any quest that we get to buy to get the gold that she wants, so that she can get the rocks that she wants. She wants to buy all the rocks she can possibly get. Whenever we're on adventures, you know what she does? She studies the rocks. Whenever we're fucking, like, whenever some of us are, like, in a romantic quest line, she studies rocks. Even Jasper's in a romantic quest line, but she's really studying the person so that she can get gold to get rocks. And she has a chunk of adamantium, you know, the Wolverine claws and shit. And I'm like, whoa, okay. But none of us know what it is. She hasn't revealed it to us. All we know is a really heavy fucking piece of rock. And okay, that's essentially what Jasper is doing right now. She helped save the world essentially, because when we were in a dungeon, a bunch of cult souls were entrapped, and when we released the fucking thing, all the souls are about to rain all over the world. There are like thousands upon thousands of sacrifices, and the souls will like be unleashed to the world. And she was up on the upper floor where they were getting sent through, and with her, she rolled really good checks, and she prayed all those souls away. It essentially prayed them to rest, and so she essentially helped with all of that. Well, we were all fighting the humongous monster that had all the souls on the lower floors. So yeah.
Now, your guys' party is on a mission for Edward Serendipity?
We just completed Edward Serendipity's quest. Edward Serendipity is this big, luscious, thick and hairy dude who does not know what love is, but is infatuated by the concept of it. And what he told us is that he wanted to make a love potion, a permanent love potion that'll help not make someone fall in love with them, but help find your one true soulmate. And what he needed was stingers of humongous fucking sandworms. And so what we did as a group and said, hey, how much are you going to pay us? And so what he did was he said he would give us 10 gold for each stinger. And that's a fucking lot of fucking gold. And so we went out to the desert after we collected supplies, and we what our DM does, he chooses to do encounter rolls and to see what enemies we get and what enemies we face along the way. On the way there, we got no enemies. And when we got to like the nesting grounds, we allowed everyone else to like step very, very calmly because they can sense any like vibrations up on the surface for food and all that shit. So then we rolled another encounter roll to see what enemies we got from that. And then we rolled the best fucking encounter we could ever get. So what we got was we rolled a nat 20 for the encounter. And then the biggest fucking sandworm that could possibly ever sandworm was being eaten alive by a flock of younger sandworms. So it was already at half health. And then it stumbled across into our party. Essentially really eaten up and really poisoned. And so when we finished it off, we got like 16 of the... No one died. No one took any damage, except for one person who got like 3 damage. But that was just because of a swing of a tail. But then, when we were finished, we got 18 of the stingers. And then we brought it back. And then he was just jumping for joy because he could finally make his love potion. Alright? And I'm under the impression... Well, no. I'm under the impression that you, as a character, as a person, not Populate, loves Edward Serendipity. Am I correct in this assumption?
When I've sat in on your guys' sessions, Edward Serendipity seems like the best person ever. Way too flamboyant for Poppymint not to want him.
So Poppymint does want to fuck him.
Well, Poppymint doesn't know who Edward Serendipity is.
But if...
However, his name has been dropped in our last session.
Okay, so if Edward Serendipity were to come and visit the party, Poppy would want to mind fuck him.
Yes.
Alright. Fair enough. So, do you want to do a random topic now?
Well, what random topic?
I don't know, I thought... Well... Everyone, if you want us to do politics, leave a comment down below. Alright? But right now tell me your opinion on buffaloes, man.
About who?
Buffaloes. The animals.
I find them to be very cute.
Very cute.
Because I, as a person, enjoy all animals.
Fair enough.
Even hairless cats.
Okay, now you're getting into territory that is not so attractive.
Well, like, the thought process with cats is they are so ugly that they're cute.
Like pugs, yes?
Kind of.
I despise pugs. Pugs, like, anyone out there with a pug, why would you subjugate your dog to that type of breeding? It can't breathe.
I can't stand pure blood dogs, because the amount of fucked up you have to be to spend over $500 for someone to have basically forced dogs into incest to get, and I am quoting here, a genetic prize that is going to have a shit ton of health problems later in life. Like, just go get a mutt.
Honestly, it's the most healthy.
But they're healthy, and you can find them all over the place at rescue centers.
Honestly, mutts are like the most healthy you can possibly do because it's not incest breeding. Now, like, I see like all these purebloods, right? Their skull is too small for their brain to house, and so they got these deformed fucking faces, and they can't breathe right. It's fucked up, man. And it looks like our third co-host has returned with his shit.
I just spent $20 on Taco Bell.
Fuck, what'd you order?
A number 11 Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
They have these cool Supreme nacho fries. Those looked good, and I can't help myself, so I got them.
I've tried those before. They are good.
And I got 4 nice cheesy potato wraps.
All right.
Yeah, those are for later, though.
For those of you who do not know, because we haven't told you yet, our third host is Ryan, and he plays Poppyment's son, Ron Jon.
How much of me is already known?
Welcome everyone back to the Sex Dungeons and Dragons podcast, and with us we have our third co-host now. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I play the character Ron Jon, and Rim Jim.
All right. Well, how about you tell us about Ron Jon, the second Ron Jon?
Which one's the second one? How about I put them in order of creation? The first one is the one that we do in the campaign here. The second one is the campaign I do with Chase back in our hometown and some of his family. And Rim Jim is my LARPing character.
Which will also be on this YouTube channel that we'll be posting on it as soon as I get done fucking editing it. Go follow that. Yeah. So tell us about the creation of Ron Jon. Tell me what went through your head as you're like, this is a great character.
Here's the thing. What went through my head was, you know how there's a myth that every 7 seconds a guy thinks about sex?
Yes.
For Ron Jon, it's every single second. I thought of the horniest character possible. Okay? And then I was like, now what would this literal Chad do? And then it hit me. He would swoon the ladies with his literally caramel voice and his ability to play instruments.
Okay. Now, this is great because you, in the real world, know how to play these instruments.
I would use that term loosely, but yes.
Now, since Ron Jon is Poppyment's son, and for those of you who don't play D&D, when you're doing a character, it's not about what you would do as a person, it's about what your character that you built would do. What does Ron Jon find of his father, or mother, if you will, or mom, dad?
Well, up until recently, in terms of the story, Ron Jon kind of did his own thing. He was adopted by Poppyment probably around the age of 5. During that time, Poppyment showed Ron Jon how to swindle people out of their money by being adorable or talented, which...
As a good father, mother would do.
Naturally,
yeah. Which Ron Jon was all of those things. Eventually, he got to be, I think I agreed around 12 years old, and he went to a bardic college and learned how to play really well and learned how to cast spells. Eventually ran into Poppyment again, but this time he had a daughter. The daughter was a dragon. See, during the time that Ron Jon was in the bardic college, food was scarce, so he would have to go out on his adventures to get money so he could eat. And during one of these adventures, he happened upon a ice dragon den that had just recently laid eggs. So he took an egg to make an omelet.
Oh, okay.
Turns out there was a baby inside that, so he felt guilty and went to raise it. And then that puts us about where the campaign starts.
Okay, well, tell me about all the feats that Ron Jon has accomplished then.
During the campaign or in general?
Okay. Is there like outside sources of his feats?
Okay, so during the campaign.
Okay, let's start with that then.
Well, let's start off at the very beginning. Within the first 2 seconds of me getting control of Ron Jon, he was immediately knocked out. We're not even talking it was a half a hit bitch slap. The enemy got a critical 20 when I was right next to him.
That's amazing.
And knocked right out. And I was the party's only healer.
Oh, God.
Now, as the party's only healer and general, for lack of a better word, dumbass,
That is correct.
how would Ron Jon have felt should he have known what happened while he was unconscious?
I am led to believe that while Ron Jon was unconscious, someone's balls may have been dragged across his face, and since Ron Jon is a bisexual, I do believe he would have been fine with that.
Now, is he a bisexual or is he a pervert?
No further questions?
God, it feels like this is an interrogation now.
After that, we had another encounter with some enemies, and a very similar thing happened, only before I got knocked out, I attempted to swoon this, 200-year-old hag.
Oh,
See, Ron Jon, as a character, is very into ladies.
fair.
And he believed that this thing was a lady.
Okay.
And to get what the party actually wanted and needed, he was willing to perform actions with her.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate on this or no?
Well, he was going to nail the bedpost down through her.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that didn't happen. She turned into a hag and then immediately blasted me into the next realm, and I was down again.
God damn it. So, 2 encounters back to back. Immediately. Boom. Almost dead.
And if we skip the interesting events of that counter, because there were some interesting events in that encounter. I tried to blow a lady out of the sky so that we could catch her.
Okay.
That actually worked, but then the hag caught her again and reset up the trap that she had laid. Eventually managed to get out of that situation, and on our way back to the nearest town, we encountered a frog creature.
Okay. Frog creature. So, do you remember what, CR that was? Or, how, level it was compared to the party?
The party was all level 3.
Okay. So, pretty squishy at the time.
We were squishy. This creature was a fight meant for a party of level 5s.
Oh, so when we for viewers, what we mean a party in relations to another creature, that means 4 people at the same level. And so, you guys, how many are you?
Fibblethip, Poppymint, Esri. Are we gonna count the NPCs?
Yes.
Okay.
6 plus NPCs.
6 plus NPCs.
Any fighting people, any fighting person.
Our main fighters are Doge the Archer and
Okay.
Fibblethip the Dwarf.
Okay, we'll get around to that. And so at the time, did you guys succeed? Did you guys succeed with this fight?
The original intention with the Dungeon Master is that we would get into this fight and we would run away, or we would try to stealth our way out. The main issue immediately proned itself to us when our main DPS, the Archer,
Yeah.
was downed.
Oh.
The frog hopped onto him from the sky, basically, and downed him. He was laid prone. So Ron Jon, being the heroic person he is, immediately leapt into action and cast Shatter on the crystals that were growing out of this thing's back.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, these crystals, when they're damaged, explode after a set amount of turns, usually 2.
Okay, so that was a really good plan. Did it explode on impact with Shatter?
We'll get into that.
Okay.
So after this toad was scared off, because we did scared off, I went over to help Doge up,
Yeah.
pick him up, tell him to go hide, take his dog with him. And
Now, I
went
would
go
like
hide.
to note that this is before Poppymint had his beloved, wonderful house.
This is indeed before that, yes. Anyway, so while we were hiding, we were waiting for a safe time to leave, as one would.
Yeah.
And Ron Jon at the time had an intelligence score of 8, which is a modifier of -1.
It's not -2.
Not -2. -1.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
barely.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Just barely. So I had to roleplay my character as somebody who is of a below average intelligence.
Yes.
So I thought the best way to do that was, he's not a very patient person. So Ron Jon decided, I'm going to go see if that frog's there. Now, before I continue, I would like to note that it is canon in the world 2 or 3 things.
Okay.
It rains frogs from the sky at some points. They're swept up by hurricanes and tropical storms up into the sky where they'll then fall down.
Okay.
Frogs are shock absorbent, so when they hit the ground, they bounce. And if you hit them with a blunt force weapon, it does no damage.
Okay.
Last one. In the swamp where we were, all the frogs are homosexuals.
Now let me get this straight. Only the swamp?
Only the swamp.
Why not make it... Why are they gay? Why are they gay?
So the DM, at which he offered you guys the same thing, every person who participated in this world got to make one world-changing thing canon.
Right.
And our party, much more than your party, took it to more of a nonsensical level.
Yeah, I know what I did, and...
We can talk about that later because it relates to mine as well.
Yes.
Where your guys' party went full-on serious with your cannons, ours, or not full-on serious, but definitely a lot more serious than ours. We were immediately ready to fuck things up.
Alright. Well, continuing on with the frogs, now that we know that frogs are gay within the swamp...
Yes. And knowing that Ron Jon is a bisexual...
Pervert.
Sure, that too. Ron Jon thought it'd be a miraculously wonderful idea to offer himself sexually to the frog.
Now...
So he jumped out of the bush, dropped his pants, and spread his cheeks.
As one would.
As one would logically do in this situation. That was immediately countered by the frog leaping out of the sky and eating me ass first.
What?
And turning out that it wasn't a frog,
Yeah,
it was a
It was
toad.
a toad.
Toads are not gay.
Toad, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a bitch move on the DM. What the fuck?
Yep. So I am pretty much the only thing that of me that is not in this thing's mouth is my shoulders and my shins. And, shins down, shoulders up. It has me by my ass.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Immediately, I am making death saves.
Oh my god. So, obviously, Ron Jon is living.
Yes, Ron
But-
Jon is alive right now.
How did you get from getting eaten ass first to that?
Trade secret.
Trade secret.
So, our druid, who is our secondary healer, cast a distance healing spell on me,
Okay, and...
which gave me just enough hit points to regain consciousness.
Okay.
I immediately reacted by casting a fire spell in this thing's mouth, which made it drop me.
Okay. Now, who is this druid?
This druid is Ezri.
Okay. So you're dropped out of the toad's mouth.
Yep.
And where is everyone else?
Everybody else is still hiding in the bushes.
Okay, so they decided fuck that shit.
Yep.
Now,
Well, except for Ezri. Ezri had to expose herself to be able to save me, so she is in the open. I am in the open. However, the toad...
is begging everyone to go to action.
Yeah. Poppy Mint at the time was actually trying to get Ron Jon to not do that, but because Ron Jon is stupid, he did it anyway.
right now, after you get free, and after Ezri exposes herself,
Yes.
what do you guys do? Do you guys run, or do you guys call everyone else to action?
We attempt at first to try to fight this thing a little bit, because it immediately tries to grab Ezri.
Right.
And once that happens, some people... I can't remember who, but somebody attacked the toad.
Okay.
And at that moment, they were the distraction. Everybody else started running, including Ezri and myself.
Now, did the toad follow?
The toad followed. The biggest issue was when we realized we had Fibblethip left behind a little bit. He was lagging behind us, so the party was a good couple hundred feet ahead of Fibblethip, who was still a good couple hundred feet ahead of the toad.
Now, Fibblethip is the tank of the group, right?
Yes. And at some point, he catches up with us, and the toad is slowly catching up on us as well. And the toad decides to do a tongue attack to Ezri to try to pull her in and eat her.
Right.
And Fibblethip immediately blocks this attack and is pulled in close to the toad.
Oh, shit.
And the next thing he does is legendary. We now, in our world, instead of having scrolls that are one-time cast spells, we have beads of one-time cast spells. That's like Featherfall, Swiftness, Healing, things like that. One of the ones that we had in our party was a bead of fire, which makes a fireball.
Okay.
So when Fibblethip was pulled into this toad's mouth, its gaping maw is a little open still. He reaches into his bag, pulls out this bead, and punches it through like he breaks through its teeth.
Oh, shit.
And drops the bead in there and kicks it in the stomach, and it explodes. Immediately dead.
It killed it.
It killed it in one hit.
Oh, my God.
It was immensely weak to fire damage.
Okay.
Especially from the inside.
So, then, from that, I'm assuming that you guys level up from this.
We did level up from that, yeah.
Okay. And then, so after this encounter, Now, after that, what happened next?
We eventually get to the town that we were taking one of the NPCs.
And you
Bethany.
guys are in the swamp right now.
We are still in the swamp, yes.
Okay. And now you meet a new NPC called Bethany, right?
Yeah, Bethany. She was the person that I shot out of the air to catch.
Oh!
This hag had caught her and was using her for a necromancy ritual to try to get revenge on an old enemy.
Okay.
Which, more on that later, because Ron Jon picked up a fun toy during that encounter.
Ooh, okay. So then you get Bethany.
Yep.
And then now you're back in the city. Now this is where she wanted to go?
This is where she is from. She was the mayor's daughter of this city.
Okay.
So she had a large, I don't want to say bounty, but there was a reward for getting her.
It is very reasonable to point out that the hag needed people who are pure of body and heart, and the only one of us that she abducted that satisfied that goal happened to be Bethany.
Yes, we were all traveling at around the same time together, but this was before the campaign had started. So we really didn't know who she was.
Okay, so Bethany was still with you guys, and she was a part of the party, but you guys just didn't know who she was.
Well, I wouldn't say she was part of the party. It was kind of like during the beginning of Skyrim, when you're surrounded by those random people, and one of them is the Jarl Stormcloaks.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like, you eventually know who some of those people are during your adventure, but when you start off, you don't know who they are. You're just traveling together.
Okay.
And that's what it was with our party. We just didn't know each other, and then the first day happened, and our party formed.
Okay. Well then, so you guys are in the town now.
Yep.
And what's the first thing that Ron Jon does?
The first thing Ron Jon does is do big sleep.
Do big sleep. Okay.
Do big sleep.
Fair enough.
When he wakes up, I do believe at this point he had started writing a song. Because during the adventure back, a couple things happened. Ron Jon noticed that Ezri had a crush on a particular NPC.
Ooh. Okay.
It was Bethany.
No.
Yeah.
So what is Poppy Mint doing in this encounter now that he's back in the town?
When Poppy Mint got to town, his first place were to scope for idiots, specifically idiot shopkeepers.
Yeah.
As he would put it.
So he wants to swindle.
He wants a distraction.
Okay, elaborate, please.
Well, as far as he's concerned, stealing isn't really stealing. Okay. To him, stealing is more of a, if it was unattended, the person obviously didn't care about it anyway. So if a distraction just so happens to come about at the right time, and a shopkeeper were to say leave, well then everything there is for him.
You know, I think a lot. Yeah, I can get behind that. Yeah.
He has found himself in trouble many times because of this ideology, but he still fully believes that he is in the right.
Okay, now, at the time, you're level 2 Sprite, or, like, what are your levels in?
I only just recently got him to level 2 Sprite.
Okay.
He was a level 2 or 3 wizard by then.
Or something like that, yeah.
So, for him, he didn't have a lot of spells, he didn't know a lot of anything. All he had to him was Big Mama's Guide to Pie.
This was a book he had managed to acquire while we were raiding the old hag's stuff. After we I wouldn't say kill her. We didn't actually kill her. We weakened her, broke her pelvis. Not me. That was filled to be shattered.
And then Poppy Mint negotiated a little bit to get her to stop everything.
So we got some interesting things out of that encounter, which are now applicable because we're now in the town where some things happened with some of them. So, as Chase just mentioned, Poppy managed to get a pie book called Big Mama's Guide to Pies.
Okay.
But Ron Jon got an interesting gift there as well, and that was the necronomicon. Now, the reason why Ron Jon was the keeper of this...
Okay.
Ron Jon's intelligence score was too low to actually be able to read any languages. Ron Jon can only speak Elvish, Undercommon, and Common. So I was the perfect person to keep it because I could not read.
And Poppy Mint's not really allowed to use it at all, because if he were to, the Fae would essentially reject him, and he would turn into a hag himself.
Okay, that's fair. So what we're saying is, Ron Jon is too retarded to even comprehend it.
Essentially, yes.
Okay, so now that you have this humongous fucking demon book, what do you do with it?
So this nothing happens with that until the third night. The first couple nights I spend reading it, trying to get my character to learn how to read.
Okay.
Which, understandable, right?
Yeah,
my
yeah.
character is clearly curious.
Yeah.
The second day we're there, an interesting thing happens. Our character, Fibblethip, myself, and I do believe Doge were walking around in the square, and we happened upon a blacksmith. I got a new sword. I got two new swords. I got a sword of stealth. It's just a very easily concealable copper blade.
Right.
And then I got this sword that boosts my charisma, which as a bard is literally amazing.
Okay.
Doge was looking at arrows and bows, as he always does. I don't think he got anything. Fibblethip found this really cool hammer. We later found out it was called the Mana Hammer. Now this hammer, we didn't know anything about it yet. We didn't know what it did. All we knew is this guy was making it that night. That's it.
Okay.
We go to sleep. We wake up the next day. We're walking around in town. Hear this big explosion. It's at the blacksmith shop.
All right.
Poppy Mint was ready to pounce.
Yes, so while we were all investigating this, I was helping the blacksmith casting healing spells. Poppy Mint breaks into the blacksmith shop while everybody's out of it. Would you like to take it from there?
Yeah. So Poppy Mint has the invisibility as a anytime he wants to, except if he attacks, then he does become visible.
Okay.
At this point in time, and so he snuck into the blacksmith shop and noticed it's unattended.
So that's free game for him.
Yeah.
It's a real shame that it was unattended.
Everything in there, like, why would somebody not want the amount of money that was left in that cash register?
I will make a quick note. Chase was playing this character perfectly because a fairy does not understand human concepts such as belonging or time. So the fact that he played this character this way is truly amazing when you think about it.
It's just so sad. Like, all of this money could have been to use to someone. So why not Poppy Mint? It's just there. Nobody wants it.
So he stole it.
He was very sad nobody would want that money. So he took all of that money. That was about 800 silver and 3 gold.
Now,
Which is about 11 gold total.
Now I have to ask, did you get away with it?
Oh yeah, he got away with that one.
Yeah, he got away with that 100%. And while that was happening outside with the rest of the party, Fibblethip finally figured out what that hammer does. So the reason that explosion occurred is this blacksmith was making this hammer. Now this hammer runned off those crystals I mentioned before.
Okay.
Where if you damage them, they explode. But it manages to do this in a controlled way where it, kind of like in Skyrim where you can take a soul and trap it in a gem.
Okay.
It works similar to that in that when you pull a trigger on this hammer, souls that have been collected in the gem release their energy and the stone explodes out the front of the hammer.
At the front
So
of the
imagine a jackhammer shaped like an actual hammer that runs off of soul batteries.
Now I'm guessing the souls have to be collected from the death of that hammer itself.
Yes, the hammer actually has to kill the thing.
Okay. Now, did you guys get the hammer?
So the original thing was to try to steal it, but Fibblethip didn't want to do that at the time, and the place was seething with guards, and they confiscated it as contraband.
Fair.
And as evidence for what had just happened, because they didn't understand it. So Fibblethip managed to eventually strike a deal with the guards at one point during one of the nights, where he would go off on a private mission to do some bandit killing,
Okay.
and in return, they would just give him the hammer, instead of the 5 gold or whatever it was reward that he would normally get.
Okay. Now, at the time of the explosion, what is Poppy Mint doing?
Looting.
Looting.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Essentially looting. But to him, it's more on a emotional...
In his eyes, he's the IRS.
He was not the IRS. He was the...
It kind of sounds like you're
He's the child that comes across a penny and is so excited.
This isn't a penny we're talking about. We're talking about $500.
Oh, well, yeah, there was also copper, but because of his limited size, he couldn't grab the copper.
Oh, naturally.
He went for the big stuff. Like this was his $20 on the ground in an alley.
Actually, you know what? I just realized something. Since the night before, Ron Jon had just purchased the sword and everything.
Yeah.
The money that Poppy Mint stole was my money that I had just paid.
Oh shit!
No, Poppy Mint got much more money than just.
It was that money in addition with everything else you had taken. You stole other people's money and also my.
And I'd like to note that Poppy Mint has gone on to better things, and that money that he stole from that shop has coasted him all the way along until, as we talked earlier, now he is selling his body parts because he finds himself, even though he's the richest in the party, he's getting poor.
So how much money does Poppy Man have at the moment?
At the moment, he only has 3 gold and 6 silver.
He had to make a rather large purchase.
What was his large purchase?
We can get to that later.
Okay.
Because that will still follow Ron Jon's story.
All right. So at the time, how much you had? About like 8 gold.
At the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was by far the richest character in the entire party.
Okay. Well then.
And in the world that all of us are in, we do not do platinum
Or electrum.
and so getting a gold is about as rare as a DM would give most people platinum.
Now, what Chase means is we don't typically have platinum. The DM has said that there are platinum pieces in the game, but they're basically, if you live in the United States, they're basically the equivalent of the $1,000 bill in that, yes, it's legal currency. They just don't make them anymore.
Yeah. So after Fibblethip kills all these bandits, and instead he gains this new fucking soul-powered
Which
hammer.
that adventure was a thing in and of itself. Essentially, once we realized that he had left, which we will come back, because there was some stuff that happened before this, too, before we realized he had gone.
Okay.
Ron Jon and Poppy Mint and one of the NPCs, Artie, followed after Fibblethip, because if he had done this entire thing on his own, the DM had admitted he probably would have died.
Oh.
He got there about a day before we did and started laying siege to this place, but when we got there, we supported him. We were looking for something that the mayor had lost.
You skipped over a huge part.
Yeah, we're going back to that. We're going to go back to why Ron Jon and Poppy Mint were there, not just Artie. But, yeah, once we got back, he did get the hammer. But before that, the night that he went to do this, Ron Jon did something magical.
Tell me in the audience what was so magical.
So as I mentioned, Bethany is this character.
Right.
She's the mayor's daughter.
That Ezra has a crush on.
That Ezri indeed has a crush on, which is perfectly related to what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Ron Jon was going to help Ezri make the first move on Bethany.
Ah, yes, the perfect wingman.
So, Ron Jon constructed an elaborate love song.
Oh, great. So that was the song that he was working on when he woke up.
Yep. So, Ron Jon went outside, like downstairs. They were in the second floor study.
Yeah.
Ezri was supposed to get Bethany to come over to the window, and Ron Jon would play the song.
Okay.
And that is about how it unfolded. But Poppy Mint was used to get their attention. Bang on the window, go back inside, do whatever. I don't care after that.
Right.
So while Ron Jon was playing the song, Poppy Mint, would you like to take it from there?
So Poppy Mint knocked on the window. Eventually got their attention. As they opened the window, he went visible and then immediately back to invisible, flew straight into the house.
And that was so that they would know to look down.
Yeah. Now that they're looking, nobody else in Ezri and Bethany were in the library. And so while they were looking out the window to a beautiful scene that Ron Jon had set up, he realized this house is pretty big.
Okay, so what?
I hate this.
What does this rationally come to then?
This rationally comes to him exploring a house. This is pretty big. This is the biggest house in the town.
Okay, so what does Poppy Mint do with this big boy house then?
Eventually, Poppy Mint comes across a lovely lovely meeting room. Very lovely. It had chairs.
It was the study.
It was a beautiful room. He doesn't know what it is. It's big.
Okay.
Even though this is a dwarf's house, this room is made for humans.
Now, is Bethany a dwarf or is she a human?
The main, population of the town was indeed dwarves.
Okay.
So she was a dwarf, yeah.
And,
Well, actually, no, they weren't dwarves, they were gnomes.
Oh, so they're smaller than dwarves.
They're even smaller, yeah.
Okay, then what is Esri?
Esri is a triton, which is a fish person.
Ah, okay.
well, in this room, Poppy Mint comes across a letter and a coin purse. While the letter would have been important, he saw the coin purse and there was nobody in this room.
Ah, so it was
Once more, somebody... Why would they leave that? He is... this is on an emotional level to him. What is in a coin purse? Coins. So he opens up the coin purse and he finds 20 gold.
20 gold.
Now, this is the equivalent of, pulling up to your grandma's house, right? Doesn't have to be that, but, simple comparison. You go into her study, you find $200 just laying there.
Wait, I thought gold is 100 silver, so isn't it 2,000?
Actually, yeah, it would be like finding $2,000. There we go, yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, Poppy Mint, obviously, if nobody else wants it, takes the 20 gold. And then he's on his merry little way.
As one does.
And as he's doing this, Ron Jon, if you will.
While he was doing that, I was finishing up my song. Ron Jon, by this point, had also learned how to turn invisible, so as a special effect to the end of my song, I cast invisibility on myself and made my way back into the house and turned visible and ran back up to talk to the ladies to see how that went.
Okay. Well, did Ron Jon get good with the ladies at this point?
By this point, Bethany did not really realize that it was a love song. She just thought it was a really cute song.
Oh.
She has, for an NPC, she has the shittiest roles.
So she is a dense motherfucker.
She is very dense, just by coincidence, yeah. After that, Ron Jon, that night, decided to have a nice little fun bit with his book, the Necronomicon.
Yes.
And Ron Jon went on to go outside and find some nice animal pieces laying around.
Okay, now what animals are these?
If I remember correctly, it was a large spider and a large centipede.
Oh.
If you've ever seen the pictures of the black African centipedes, these things get to be like a meter long.
Holy
Imagine
fuck.
that. That's the kind of centipede he found.
Oh, that's disgusting.
And for spiders, just look up bird-killing spiders. That'll probably get you close enough. I found these two things.
God.
Killed them both, because, they're bugs. They have 1 HP.
Yeah.
And I decided to cast a dark ritual. By this point, Ron Jon had learned how to create a homunculi or a chimera. A homunculus is basically a separate vessel for your soul, so it's very closely bonded to you.
In the real world, homunculus is something completely different. We can talk about that later. Okay, now.
But it's also much more dangerous to do, since
Yeah.
you're basically splitting up your soul, similar to Horcruxes in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You're taking a piece of your soul and putting it in something else. But with chimeras, there's less bloodletting of yourself. You don't have to hurt. You don't have to harm yourself in any physical way. You just make a chalk circle and do a couple different chants and hope it goes well and you don't summon the end of the universe.
Now, with this dark ritual, you decided that with your 8 intelligence,
Yep.
decided that
Actually, by this point, it had gone up to 10.
really
At
Holy
one
shit.
point, Ron
Okay.
Jon had hit level 5. No, level 4. I got a stat reshuffle.
Yeah. So then, you decided to put the 2 points into intelligence.
Yep.
Okay. And then, you at this point, what did you want to do with it? What did you want to do with it?
So this was just a practice because Ron Jon knew I could do. Weird, I went from third to first person, but Ron Jon knew he could do some interesting stuff with this. So he just wanted to see what was capable. So what he did is he just mashed the two together. So imagine a spider, but instead of the appendage where the webs are spun, it has a centipede's body.
That is absolutely horrifying. Yeah.
He named it Slim Jim.
As one does.
And
oh my god.
It was one of the cutest things ever. Now, Ron Jon could not understand it. It spoke bug. However, Poppy Mint could speak bug.
Okay, now, Poppy Mint, what was the majority of what Slim Jim, this glorious creature, said?
Well, I have to say, that the Fae being able to speak and command bugs was my thing in the canon. It was more of a nonsensical thing. It only works for spying, and a lot of the bugs are very dumb, so it's very, very low quality spying. But, Slim Jim was very cute. He always seemed to think that he would destroy the universe. And
Mind you, this is a small chimera with 1 health point.
he was ready to take over the world. He's gonna control us all. It was like if a 3-year-old child decided that he is king of England when England was at their greatest point of the empire.
It was very cute.
It was adorable. Poppy Mint would never tell anyone what he said because, as far as Poppy Mint was concerned, even for Poppy Mint being relatively close in size, this was very adorable.
Now, when Slim Jim was always out, was he always trying to attack something?
He was actually really good at following commands. So typically what he would do is I had trained him to coil his long tail around my bicep.
Okay.
And since he was a spider and I always wore a cloak, he would attach himself. The spider part would be on the back of my head, and he would just sit there.
Oh, so it's like
with my hood up.
So essentially, on the back of your head, but like a face hugger, but on the back of your head.
Yes.
That's an image.
That is a real image right there.
Dear God. Okay.
Yeah.
So after all of this, did anyone find out?
Some people saw. I showed the people. I'm proud of him. You know, I made him, but
Right.
Nobody really knew what it was, and you know he can't. They didn't watch me make it. They just thought it was a weird ass bug that was just really creepy. But
Okay.
speaking of face huggers, very interesting you bring that up. That is actually his preferred method of attack. He would lunge onto an opponent's face with the spider part,
Right.
flex the tail up and around, and spew burning acid and spider webs all over their face.
Holy shit, that's metal. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, did he actually do pretty fucking good damage?
It wasn't necessarily damage, but it would blind opponents.
Okay.
And if it got into their bloodstream, it would poison them.
Okay, that's cool.
So, he wasn't a big damager, but he was a good way to get an advantage roll very quickly.
That's good. Now, did you use him in combat a lot?
He was only in 2 combat scenarios, but back to the city, which is where most of everything happened. After that, after we managed to make or just before I managed to make Slim Jim, or was it before? At some point, the mayor who we were staying with realized his 20 gold had been stolen, and only the party could have taken it because we're the only wild cards there.
Right.
So he went through every single one of us. He interviewed us to see if it could have been us, if we had a motive. Some of us had alibis. For example, Doge was out all night
Right.
getting arrows. Pratha, the dragon, was being an adorable toddler and would have no motive to steal gold, aside from the fact that she is a dragon and she likes sparkly things. But
Yeah.
she is a toddler. He found her absolutely adorable. Clearly not her. Just too innocent. She would have fessed up. I raised her. It clearly wasn't Esri or Bethany because they were with each other. They have each other's alibi, as well as a lot of guards saw them.
Yeah.
And then myself, I also had an alibi because they knew I was performing, and so did the mayor. The mayor knew through word of mouth that I had been performing in the backyard
Okay.
through some of his servants. So he knew I had that alibi. He also knew I turned invisible for a while, but it was only while I was outside.
Right. Now, this only leaves Poppy Mint.
This leaves not just Poppy Mint. This also leaves Fibblethip,
Fibblethip.
which was awkward because he was there for a little time the night before and then just mysteriously disappeared.
Oh, okay. So, did the mayor suspect him?
He absolutely 100% suspected him at first. He was like, it's very strange for somebody to just disappear up in the night.
Okay. So, what happened from there then?
At that point, he started to eventually try to interview Poppy because he did say he would interview everybody. And he quickly realized Poppy Mint's a Fae. Fae can't lie. So he asked him very gridlocking questions.
Oh, shit.
Questions like, did you steal my 20 gold that was in a leather bag? To which Chase had to do mental gymnastics to come up with answers to.
I'd like to note that I was coming off of 3 all-nighters with no naps in between.
Okay.
So, had I not done that, I would have caught all of the hints that the DM laid, because he was honestly being kind to me and giving me a lot of questions that could have gotten me out of this and the 20 gold. But, my mental capacity was not there, so as a result, Poppy Mint had to suffer. And it's really sad because she would have really appreciated that 20 gold.
So what happened was, after the mayor had figured out Poppy Mint had took his gold, Poppy Mint went and showed him where it was. He was relieved. He had been stressed before this. And he eventually came to the conclusion, this party might be a little bit of trouble. Probably shouldn't keep them around. They can stay this last night. And then after that, they have to go get like a hotel or something.
Right.
So that morning, when we all woke up, I went up to the mayor. I was like, I'd like to strike you a deal.
You grabbed Poppy Mint out of the air.
I literally yoinked him out of the air. I was just grab, pull, let's go. You're going to go apologize.
And because Poppy Mint's not allowed to lie, I managed to, this was a different session by this point, though.
Yes.
So I was not suffering, but, because Poppy Mint's not allowed to lie, I accidentally made canon that Poppy Mint likes BDSM.
How did you get that? How did you possibly get that in an apology?
This is before the apology. This is when I had yoinked him out of the air and I grabbed him really hard.
When Ron Jon grabbed Poppy Mint, as a snide remark in character, I said, "Ooh, I've always loved BDSM."
And since the fairies cannot lie, he accidentally canonized BDSM in this environment. Which was interesting.
Now, did anything follow suit for this?
Not really. He tried to attack me to get out of my hand. I just grabbed him again. We made our way up to the mayor's office, and I basically said, look, only Poppy Mint fucked up. So if Poppy Mint does something to help you, because clearly that gold was meant for something. If Poppy Mint does whatever the fuck that gold was meant to do,
right,
will you just let everybody stay here? And he decided it's not fair to punish everybody for what Poppy Mint did. So his stipulation was I had to go with Poppy Mint to make sure that it gets done.
Okay.
If I come back with the thing he needed, there'd be no problem.
Okay, now...
And now, the thing that we had to do was what Fibblethip was going on to do.
Right.
So the bandits had intercepted, actually, a shipment of a unicorn's horn to the mayor's office.
Okay.
The 20 gold was to buy that. Now, unicorn horn is like a weak level drug, or it can be used for making a magical wand. We're not quite sure what it is, just our party knows that's the basic 2 uses for it. We don't care, really. We're just... Because it's just me, Fibblethip, Artie, and Poppy Mint. We don't judge people, really. We don't care so long as we get paid.
Yeah.
So we're going out to get this. We already know Fibblethip's probably doing that because we asked some guards and they said he'd taken up a mission. We got the heading where he went, and we basically dead sprinted after him. We got there and he had just started getting into the encampment, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
We raided the place after we cleared it out. We found the unicorn horn, got a literal crap ton of gold, and Fibblethip managed to get a bag of holding, which is funny because Poppy Mint's been wanting one of those for a long time.
Now, a bag of holding is a really, really good item. It's one of the best items, and it's really hecking expensive.
There's a lot of good uses you can do with a bag of holding. For example, its main purpose is to be like a bottomless backpack. They can hold thousands of pounds in them.
Yeah.
You can just, for example, put 100 daggers in them, like Fibblethip eventually did.
Oh, okay.
However, the DM went through other things, so you cannot put a bag of holding in a bag of holding.
Yeah.
If you attempt to do that, it will explode.
Yeah, that's genuinely.
You can make a trap with a bag of holding that way. If you're encountering something that's rather annoying and hard to kill, if you manage to somehow get it in the bag of holding, it will suffocate to death.
Yeah.
Alternatively, since our scrolls are replaced by magic beads, you could dump a bunch of those in a bag of holding, flip the thing upside down, push every single one of them out, and just cast a bunch of spells at once, and literally just bomb something like that.
Holy shit, okay.
So they can become very overpowered very fast.
You're going napalm Vietnam style, okay.
So that was like the basic. There was also like a granite map thing of the area. I don't remember if we took that or not. There was some art and some money. Poppy Mint and I split the money. Fibblethip just wanted the I don't even know what he wanted actually. He just did it.
Okay.
Oh, he wanted just to do it for the mana hammer, so he didn't really want money anyway. Because what would he use it for? Not the mana hammer.
Right. No. Yeah, that's definitely what he wanted.
I'd like to note that Poppy Mint made a good investment by willingly kind of forced to go onto this little trip.
Yeah, it actually benefited you a lot.
It benefited Poppy Mint, not me. Because I am a separate person from her.
Well, it benefited you as well, because that means... Okay, so when we did this session, everybody was there. All the characters were present, but it was only Fibblethip, Ron Jon, and Poppy Mint actually doing any sort of interaction. So it actually does benefit you, Chase, because you were actually playing D&D that night, unlike everybody else.
So what you're saying is you hogged the session.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't mean to, because it was supposed to take a lot less time.
Right.
But the DM got so focused onto our portion.
I would also like to mention Ron Jon found another item there. It was a dowsing rod made out of bone.
So what does that do?
We don't know yet. We haven't actually taken it anywhere to get it looked at. It's just a thing Ron Jon has in his inventory that nobody remembers, and I never do anything with.
Okay. Well, after you get back to the city and Fibblethip gets his mana hammer.
Yep.
What happens next? Do you guys get to stay in the house?
We get to stay in the house for a couple nights. Eventually, we decide we want to leave and do something. And Ezri decides to basically ask the mayor if we can take Bethany with us.
And Poppy Mint decides that he needs a little something for his travels.
Go ahead and tell them about Her Majesty.
I'm sorry?
So Poppy Mint already has a pet called Todoroki. That is his giant fire beetle, which he regularly rides. Then he has his Bond of the Pact, which for flavor text we changed from Pseudo Dragon to Fairy Dragon, but we gave it a lot of the Pseudo Dragon stuff, just so...
A pseudo dragon, by the way, is just a smaller dragon that's used as a familiar.
And then, after that, he realized, we're in the swamp. The swamp has mutant goats. So, he looked through the entire town, found 2 mutant goats. One of them, rather ugly, rather deformed for a mutant goat. The other one, it may be a mutant goat, but it is beautiful. This is like the prize goat. The farmer, obviously very proud of it. The goat has long, flowing hair and a crown of horns.
Oh.
Like 10 horns, but it's a crown.
Ew.
And that's the prize mutant goat. Very beautiful. And so he notices the goat, and then he realizes that goat is obviously stronger than a horse.
And is this the same size of a regular goat?
For a mutant goat, because on the roll we got a 100, it is the same size as a regular horse.
Oh, like a full horse.
Full horse. Full-on horse.
This is a humongous fucking goat.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
go ahead and tell them all about the goat.
So, instead of going straight to the goat, he immediately went over, very confident in his self and his abilities, to the craftsman and had him design a cart. And
Okay.
the cart is essentially going to be extremely modified.
Have you guys been talking about Poppy Mint and not mentioned the cart yet?
No.
Really?
No, not at all.
Well, we've mentioned his house on wheels.
Yeah,
That's
about
what
it.
this cart is.
That's what the cart is. Essentially, he heavily modified a cart, so it's got some drawers in it on the exterior, all of them with locks, which he has the keys to.
Yeah.
That can hold normal-sized items that Poppy Mint doesn't want in his house. The cart holds the house and has a yard.
It has a yard.
It has a yard on the cart. And so the house turned out to be 4 stories. The basement, the main room, which is the library, which is 2 stories, and then an attic space.
I'm guessing this one huge ass fucking cart.
It's about the size of the room we're in, which is, what did we say the dimensions were? 10 by 20 by however tall it was.
Well, the house definitely touches the top of this room if the wheels are touching the bottom.
10 by 10 by 20.
The cart is about 10 long, or 10 wide.
Yeah.
12 to 15 long.
Oh, that's what it was, yes.
And then about 5 high. And then you stack the house on top of that to get the next 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have to remember, Poppy Mint's only about a foot tall, so a story to her is, basically a dollhouse.
Yeah.
Yes. They, it's definitely bigger than any dollhouse I've ever seen for...
It's not bigger than anyone I've ever seen. If you've ever seen Toy Story 3, they have the Barbie dream home in that.
Yeah.
Where Ken is staying. Basically, imagine that on a medieval-style cart, and you got Poppy Mint's house.
Well, yes, I kind of agree.
Now, how much did this cart cost?
This cart cost in total 2 gold, because that is the highest money. Very good negotiating skills.
For $200 in U.S. money, that's pretty good.
And about 3 silver, especially when there is actual, custom-made glass for the windows. This is... Okay, if we were to scale this up to a human size, Poppy Mint got borderline castle, definitely a mansion, in terms of size.
Oh my god, dude. And you want the Giant's Castle?
Yeah, he wants the Giant's Castle, but until he can get the Giant's Castle, he needs somewhere to live.
Of course.
He needs somewhere that he can live. And so, he told the craftsman, let's make this cart. The craftsman said, what the fuck are you gonna pull this with? And then I, not having the goat yet, knew, I'm gonna pull it with a goat. A mutant goat.
Now, I'm sensing that you only went for this goat and not the other.
I only went for this goat. Poppy Mint is a confident little bastard.
And when you combine Poppy Mint's confidence with Ron Jon's absolutely ensnaring charisma, a lot of shit can get done.
Well, so he had the plan to get the goat. And so, next thing you know, the craftsman, knowing who the farmer is because this is a smaller town, was like, you're not getting that goat. And Poppy Mint said, you better watch, make the cart, be ready for me to have the goat. They're about halfway complete with the cart by the time Poppy Mint finally decides, it's about time I go to the farmer. And so he brings his son along with Slim Jim as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Todoroki, obviously.
This is the first day that I had Slim Jim.
And Todoroki. Well, it's not the first day for having Todoroki. Todoroki's been a companion since he abducted Ron Jon.
Mm-hmm. Alright.
And so, by going with Ron Jon, it was both a fuck-up and a happy accident. Because Ron Jon almost screwed him out of the goat by showing off Slim Jim, and Slim Jim being rather rude to the farmer. However, Poppy Mint, luckily, has beast speech as one of his features. So, he decided to kind of recover. He's going to go to the goat and start talking to it. Now, this goat, while it is a female goat, It was a 100, so the charisma and speech on that is very high, and so it has essentially the I'm gonna dominate the universe sort of voice. And as Poppymint was talking with it, he was like, well, what do you like to do for fun? And the goat said, I love to be the queen of this pasture. And I said, how would you like to be the queen goat of the world and go on an adventure with me? This was
I'm guessing
very...
she took exception to that.
Oh, yes. She got a nat 20. Well, Poppymint got a nat 20 on his roll for convincing the goat. And so the goat was like, I will allow you this luxury that nobody ever gets to do. I will let you give me scritches. So the goat rolls over on its back and lets Poppymint scratch its belly just to get the farmer to let Poppymint buy it.
Now two nat 20s.
2 nat 20s.
That is 2 nat 20s.
This is D12, you fuck. No, but yeah, I understand.
I couldn't get the 20. It was at the bottom.
So, Poppymint got a goat, which, by the way, since it's a mutant goat, it can eat metal and purify it.
Which is an incredibly useful thing when you can think about that.
So this is an investment not only for Poppymint, but for the party.
So let me explain why this is absolutely amazing. Now, at one point in the mission, Ron Jon had accumulated raw silver ore.
Yeah.
I didn't have a good way to purify that unless I went to a blacksmith, but the blacksmith, as you remember, got blown up. He's hospitalized.
Uh-huh.
And his apprentice doesn't do anything with the forge.
And Poppymint stole all of their money.
Yeah, that might have been an issue too, so I didn't want to go after
Well, they
that.
don't know that Poppymint stole all of their money. But Poppymint
Stole all their money.
Yeah.
stole all their money.
So I didn't have a good way to purify this metal. Poppymint getting this goat was probably the best thing ever for me, because that means I could purify my metal and sell it.
Yeah. So, is that what you're going to do with the metal? With
I
the silver?
actually purified the metal, and then we used it to silver the blade on my charisma sword. That way it
Okay.
could be used against lycanthropes.
Okay, so now this copper sword is now a plated sword.
No, the copper sword is still a copper sword. I have 2 swords on my character, remember?
Yeah. It's,
The charisma boosting one isn't the copper one. It has like a snake-shaped blade.
got it.
Yeah.
Alright. So, after you got to get the goat, you saddled it up to your cart and everything, right?
Yes.
Now, what's Ron Jon doing at this point?
I'm helping Bethany convince her dad that she should go with us and Esri to explore the world and make ties with towns everywhere to either improve shipping or politics.
Okay.
The cart is being finished. That is while he is convincing her, because in the end we did have to do a in-game all-nighter for completion of the cart because of such the tiny details that Poppymint so rudely requested.
So, what you're saying is Poppymint is being a little bitch with his cart.
No. He doesn't know he was being a bitch, and as in terms of like talking with them, he was being very polite. He was just, he really wanted a cart the way he wanted it.
Right.
So his requests at the beginning were a little bit far for such a limited time frame, since we knew when we were going to leave, but Poppymint, not understanding time, thought there was probably a bit more.
Okay, now at this point, you said that you're trying to persuade the mayor to allow Bethany to come over and join the party.
Yeah.
And so did he accept it?
There was a lot of roles involved with this, and it eventually just came down to a bardic inspiration check. By that I mean I gave Esri a bardic inspiration die, and somehow we barely made it, but we did make it. So he was preparing a cart for us as well.
That's good.
Not like as intricate as what Poppymint had, but it was
Yeah.
still a good cart.
So what happens when you pull up with this mutant goat and this elaborate fucking cart, by the way?
Most of the party is confused Oh, well, all of the party is confused because why would a fairy have a cart that in height is taller than most of our party?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's literally taller than every single. Actually, yeah, no, probably every character. That's at least a PC, not the NPCs.
NPC is taller than them.
No, not Bethany.
Not Bethany?
No, Bethany. No, no. I think Doge is taller. Doge is taller than it because I think Doge is a 6. No. Yeah, the cart's 10 foot. Yeah, you're right. Everybody's shorter than it.
Okay.
So Ron Jon's a half elf, half human, right?
Yep.
And what is Doge?
Doge is a full human.
Doge is full human, and I believe Fibblethip is a gnome.
He's a dwarf that is racist against humans.
So he doesn't like Doge.
He does not like Doge. He barely liked me up until recently, but we'll get into that fun story at another point in time.
Another time. I believe that is all that we have for today. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe and leave a comment and like down below. And we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye, guys.